and welcome to another very special. That was really embarrassing.
Keep it special. I love it. The most special podcast on earth.
Welcome to another very special episode. We're just gonna keep rolling.
I made a song, so I think I really helped sell it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You did a really good job. You kept it going.
You.
You saw how embarrassed I was, and we were like a second in. We could have restarted, but
no.
We never do.
I was like, we can't resync our mics, Meg. It's too complicated.
All right, I'm your host, Maggie.
I'm also your host. My name is Laura.
And Laura is so lucky that before I got on, I actually washed. I had a ton of tiger face paint, and I thought that's going to be way too distracting.
Wait, what did you have tiger face paint on for?
I don't know. I was doing a bit after work.
I'm so sad you took it off, Maggie.
I thought that might have been too distracting.
There's nothing that would have made talking about Breaking Dawn Part 1 more than me seeing you in a tiger face paint the entire time.
I look a little bit, I think I still have some under my eyes, which I like to think.
Yeah, they do look, they're smoky.
I like to think I look like Panic at the Disco. What's his name?
Brendan Urie.
Yeah.
It's very of the time of Twilight, so it makes sense to me.
I know, and I feel bad because a tiger's not even a mythological creature in this. Like, I should have done werewolf face paint, but I didn't.
Just the line, tiger is not even mythological creatures. It's very chef's kiss to me.
You know, it's a real animal in real time, but as for Twilight...
Newsflash, animals are real.
Newsflash, hey guys. I don't know if you know this, but animals, they're real.
Yeah.
And speaking of animals, I mean, this is an animalistic book. We're starting with the beginning of Breaking Dawn, and all of the pent-up horniness that I have been waiting for... It's kind of paying off in the first half of Breaking Dawn.
I beg to differ. I felt like we got more of the same. The payoff was just kind of like, they're gonna have sex and we're not gonna really talk about it, but she's gonna be so horny. She's gonna love it so much.
Yeah, I know. Okay, honestly, they did cut, but like as a kid, for me, it really hit.
You were like, ee! Yeah, that's fair. I could see that. You being like, oh my god.
As a Catholic school kid, you have to take what you can get.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's start because Breaking Dawn is actually split into mini books because Breaking Dawn is 100 million pages, and by that I mean close to 800, which is pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And so book 1 is from Bella's point of view, and she's so embarrassed driving around town because one, she has a temporary fancy car that everyone keeps staring at, and everyone keeps talking about her engagement. It's so hard being Bella, right, Maggie?
Exactly. She's got this nice ass Mercedes, and it also seems like it is like military grade bulletproof windows because Edward's like, listen, I know you're gonna fall down a hill, you're gonna careen off the road, something's gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
And she has a Cullen credit card.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not even married yet, folks, and she's getting the perks of being a little wifey.
She's on that bling ring status. Like, Your Honor, she was in the 212. Okay?
Yeah. There's also missing posters for Jacob all over town because he ran off in the last book, if we recall. Mm-hmm. So Bella called Seth for updates here and there. And Seth has been getting some brain waves that Jacob's in Northern California. And Seth's like, that crazy guy. But hey, looking forward to coming to the wedding with my mom.
Yeah, it seems like Seth is the only one of the werewolf gang who is going to attend. Jake's, you know, he's fucking around and finding out.
Good for him. Jacob needs to express himself more.
Yeah.
But here's the first insane plot point to me. Because we find out they've been planning this wedding. And like they have a date. Everything's in array. And they're like, well, now that everything's planned, I guess we have to go tell my parents. So you're telling me Bella's been engaged this whole time. She's been driving around a Mercedes, and Charlie hasn't even thought, like, man, something's up here.
I do think that this is a little bit of, I'm going to say a Stephanie Meyer oopsie, because for how traditional Edward is, you wouldn't think that he wasn't going to ask the father for her hand in marriage.
And, like, they ask for his blessing, like, during this reveal that they're getting married and, like, the wedding's already planned. But I feel like Edward would have asked way ahead of the ring.
And not even they. He asks because Bella doesn't have the balls to ask her own dad. So Edward
It's
has
almost like Bella
to.
doesn't want to get married.
Yeah, that's true. She's very much like, oh, like that feels like marriage is actually like straight white woman oppression against me specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like we get another brief scene of her like calling her mom and being like, "Hey, can you come up for my wedding that's in like a week?" So it's very weird.
Yeah, and Charlie's kind of hoping that Renee, her mom, is going to be the deterrent. And he's like, well, you know what? You have to tell your mom. And that's going to
Yeah.
be a problem in itself. And Renee's actually chill as fuck.
Yeah, she's like mostly down. It's like, so I was like, that was pretty anticlimactic.
I know. I also love that he's like trying to talk her out of it. And he says, what's the rush? And she's like, I am turning 19, Charlie. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the rush. A new decade is unfolding before me, and it's a young one, and it's a fun one. She can't even drink legally yet. Like,
no, like she can't even do anything fun yet. She's not even having a bachelorette party, but Edward's having a bachelor party. He's doing fun shit, and his version of fun shit's just going out with Jasper and Emmett to like hunt a mountain lion.
yeah. Jasper and Emmett show up at Bella's like window late one night, and they're like, "Ah, come on, Bella, stop kissing him, stop hogging him. We just gotta go do the same thing we always do, which is hunt."
My favorite thing about this scene as well is right before they show up, Bella is like, "I'm so horny still," because that's like Bella's either really boring or really horny. Those are her two moods. And Edward just kind of drops like, "Man, I wish I could put a baby inside you." I was like, "Whoa!"
I'm so happy you brought that up, because I wrote that he's like, God, I wish I could get you pregnant right now. And I was like, am I making a joke right now, or is that actually what happened?
I read it
and
twice,
it was.
and I was like, am I reading into this too much? And I was like, no, I'm not. Edward's like literally like, I want to trap you. I want you to have a baby.
So while he is gone, she is kind of ruminating over the guest list of their wedding. There's some other vegan vampires, the Tenalis in Alaska, as we know, who were housing Laurent for a bit. They're coming, and Bella feels, I was going to say her first pang of jealousy, but she's always jealous and insecure. She is like, oh my gosh, he has history with Tanya. But we know he's never fucked in his 10,000 years being alive.
Like, it's almost like he just has a friend who's a girl and Bella's just being insecure about it.
And we get a little bit of a backstory with the Tenalis. They say their family lost their mother because there was that time when the Southern battles for land was going on, where Jasper was heralding one of the newborns, kind of. And we get our first backstory into these little baby vampires that people made, because they were like, oh, I'm a vampire, I'm alive forever, I kind of want a kid. But they were children, so they didn't have a frontal lobe, and they couldn't control their hunger, and were like crazy.
Yeah, so they killed a lot of them. And then Bella has a dream that night about like everyone she's ever known stacked on top of each other in a dead pile, and then also having a vampire baby. What could it mean?
What could it mean? What's to come?
Alice, who has planned this entire wedding, picks up Bella the day of to help her get ready. Rosalie is turning a new leaf. She wants to help Bella get ready. She helps her do her hair.
Yeah, she's kind of finally warming up to them, and it's just a full-blown decorated house by Alice. She's got, I mean, all of the clothes set out. She's like flown in a French wedding outfit, which hats off to Alice. That would be great. I'd love that.
Yeah, that sounds nice. The wedding happens so fast. So fast.
So fast. You wouldn't believe it.
You guys would expect, at least I was expecting. I was like, again, this is a romance book. We're going to get some, some really like good vows or some like nice longing looks, some like kind of feelings of hope and the pitter patter of nervousness of like what's yet to come. And then it's like, and then the wedding happened and everybody cheered.
I really think all we get is that Charlie like walks her down the aisle, but Laura and I did talk about, outside of this, the vows, and I think with the tenacity and the volume in which Stephenie Meyer uses up her breath of I love yous packaged in so many different forms, The vows really have to wow. And I think she was just like,
And there
I
was none.
can't.
There wasn't even an I do, I think. It was just like we got married when we have rings on.
I think that for writers, I would say is a lesson in exercising restraint, because I mean, truly she'd been saying for books like, this is my forever, and now you're at the vows?
Yeah,
and you have
well,
nothing?
it's like it feels like a very weird part to skip over, knowing the length of this relationship and what this is all culminating to. Like, this is a huge turning point,
Yes,
in their characters, to like characterization together. So to just like do nothing with it, to not have any declaration of love now of all times.
it is kind of crazy because I mean,
No.
it is a supernatural book, obviously, and it's YA, but it is at its
Yeah.
heart a romance book, and you're taking the most romantic
Where's the
moment.
romance?
I know.
I want to squeal a little bit. I want to be like, aw. I want to be like,
This
I want
is
to be like, ooh.
ooh, ah.
Yeah.
That's when
I
you're
want
supposed
ooh.
to deliver, and we weren't getting any of the
Where
oohs
was
and
the
ahs.
delivery?
No delivery. We
It's definitely DiGiorno, because it did not deliver.
we deserve so much more. You're so right about that.
Hey.
We do get a little delivery boy in the sense of Jacob, who does show up under the full cloak of darkness to dance with his girl Bella.
This is also hilarious to me, because Edward's like, hey, happy wedding. I made sure your best friend Jacob came. Like, Edward finds him somehow.
And also Edward is like fully aware that they have tension, so he's like, hey, so on the day of my wedding, you guys can actually you can dance fully under the shade of the forest. And
Did you feel like Stephanie Meyer didn't really know what to do with Edward in this book? Because a lot of times you just kind of feels like he's going with the flow and like kind of just like suggesting random things. And I'm like, are you having a crisis, my guy?
it really seems like it is, because this moment where he lets Jacob and Bella just kind of, I imagine he has turned his back and is letting them slow dance nearby.
He's humming to himself.
He's like the friend that you've elected to be like, wait, stay on the lookout outside the club bathroom, because like we're gonna do coke. And that's like what Edward is. He's the lookout. He's not even having the fun. He's not even doing the drug.
Yeah. No, he's just kind of like, you two have fun. And like this whole wedding, Bella's just dancing with everyone. She's not even like spending time with Edward or like talking to him. She's just getting her dance on.
And while they're dancing, so Jacob and Bella are dancing, they're kind of enjoying what few moments they have with Bella as a human, and Jacob's like, well, I mean, tonight's kind of the night, like it's the night when he changes you. And she's like, oh no, he's gonna change me in 2 weeks. And Jacob is like, that's kind of crazy, you can't have a honeymoon. And she goes, no, we're gonna fuck raw while I'm still a human fully. We're gonna do a honeymoon. And boy, does he lose his mind.
Freaks out. He's tearing things to shreds. He's this close to turning into a werewolf mid-reception.
Mm-hmm. He's like, that's fucking nuts, Loca. Where the hell you been, Loca? You shouldn't be having sex.
I had a friend send me a compilation of like Twilight quotes from the movies, and I was like, fun fact, really only one of them, the Where You Been Loco, is in there. And I was like, I'm really sad that wasn't in the book, because
I know, that's my favorite.
Because it would have been so hilarious.
I'm happy that that's the fun fact that you got. I got a fun fact that Cullen Lutz, who was playing Emmett, ate boiled eggs on set. So when they enter the lunchroom, he is holding a dozen boiled eggs in a bag, and the director just let that stay in the Twilight movie. He just would carry around boiled eggs with him.
That's a good fact. See, mine was more canon fact.
That's
a good just movie making fact.
Yeah, that's a movie making fact.
They get Jacob out of the wedding. TLDR. He storms off in a fit. And again, really thought we were gonna get like a cool like maybe fight here. No, every like moment of tension, Stephanie Meyer's like, and then it was fine. Like,
yeah.
Which I hate so much. Like, I want some consequences.
It comes to a head where him and Edward almost fight, because Edward comes over because Jacob is gripping Bella's wrists trying to process this news, and Edward's like, you're hurting her, let go. And Jacob's like, respectfully, Edward, I'll fucking kill you. And then he just disappears into the forest.
Puts on his little cloak and just
he does
into a mist. Do you think maybe Jacob was so upset about this concept of honeymoon because he didn't get to go give Edward a little kissy poo. It was all gonna be Bella instead of him.
Oh my God, he's like the bratty bottom who wants to be their third.
Yeah, think about that. Maybe his love for Bella was really just a ruse because he's secretly in love with Edward.
No, honestly, I think that there is some merit to that because later on
They get really close this book.
they do. He starts like gaining respect for him, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
they're like they talk about how in sync they are because like he can read minds and Jacob can think a lot, you know.
man, rest in peace, Jacob. I know you would have loved 2015 when we passed Obergefell versus Hodges and legalized gay marriage because I think that there's a lot of internalized homophobia that maybe if Jacob overcame in the early 2000s.
Oh my God. That's why Jacob was so afraid of imprinting on people because he didn't want. Wow.
Because Edward is a bi guy. We can both agree Edward is bisexual.
100%. You're telling me he's lived for 300 years and he hasn't kissed one frog? You got to be kidding me.
We're getting a little bit off track, but
yeah. Us, no.
But it's really important. So Jacob has to be hauled off by Sam and Seth because he has not yet overcome internalized homophobia and can't realize that he wants to kiss Edward. And Edward's having a bit of a crisis about fucking Bella. But if there's one thing I've learned from vampire smut books I read in high school, it's that vampires, they're gonna be fucking human girls.
Yeah, absolutely. Alice is here to save the day because she's like, Bella, you got a plane to catch.
Yeah.
Like mid-reception too, so I feel like wedding's just like over. And Bella has like this really like formal goodbye with both of her parents, which felt very awkward of just like, I will never forget both of you. And me as a parent, I'd be like, this feels a little weird that she's just going away for a couple weeks and she's telling me like goodbye forever.
Would you actually catch on to it? Because I think I would just be like, oh yeah, and it's because she's getting married and she misses being a kiddo.
I also don't think I'd be as hands off as her parents, so maybe that's why they're not catching on. But that's just me. Yeah. And out of all of the places they could have gone on their honeymoon, this was the last place I expected. I don't know about you.
I thought maybe, I mean, I've always wanted to go to Southeast Asia. I thought that would be pretty, but they end up going to Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah. Esme has an island out there that like is a private island and they have like cleaners and supply people come and just like bring things to them. But again, it's like also like, could they not go to an island where the sun is shining all of the time?
Is it not shining at this island? At
Well, like, because like, yeah, I imagine it would be, but they never mention Edward's skin sparkling, probably because it'd be inconvenient for the plot, but
oh, I guess that is true. I mean, there's like it's a pretty recluse island, so I just kind of assumed that it was sunny and then he was also like sparkling.
But then it's like because like all of the like the cleaning people, they all come during the day, so I imagine they're probably like, what the fuck is this sparkly guy doing here?
And it's like an open window resort too.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
I don't know.
So they boated up. They go to Rio de Janeiro.
Woo, woo.
They have so much money. And they go into this house and they're both so stressed at the oncoming onslaught of fuckery time on the horizon is kind of the only way that I could probably place it. Bella has a panic attack about the adult sleepover they're about to have, and they kind of go skinny dipping just to ease the tension.
Yeah, Edward suggests a, quote, night swim, which we know is like, it's gonna be a little bit of foreplay. And we find out Alice has only packed lingerie for Bella for this like entire like weeks that they're gonna be gone, which is amazing.
That was so funny. I loved her for that.
And here's another thing that I have. Talk about like the tension. I was like, it's gonna build up because like Bella gets in the water and Edward's like, I'm so afraid of hurting you. And then we just smash cut to the morning after. I was like, we didn't even get any
robbery.
Anything.
Absolute robbery.
I've been robbed. I've been bamboozled. I've been tricked.
And they don't even get to have a moment where they are just like holding each other being like, yeah. Oh, it's after sex moment.
What if he like caressed her face or like something?
No, instead it is just him beating himself up for seemingly hurting her. And
Yeah,
I know
he's like, I hurt you, and she's like, no, you didn't. I had a really good time.
I know it's supposed to be like a tender moment, I guess, maybe for him, and he's upset he bruised her. But he was being like too much of a gentleman. Like, I feel like it's like the fun part about sex is like a little bit of roughhousing, but he's over here like in the streets drawing a horse and buggy. Attitude. That's what it's giving me.
He's drawing divorce papers. He's still like, Bella, you never should have married me. This was a bad idea.
She's got all these bruises over her, and he's like, you're worried I didn't enjoy myself? Really?
Yeah.
And also, hey, another question, wondering if you were wondering this, wouldn't she bleed when she broke her hymen?
I did write down, why did Edward never eat her out when she was on her period?
She would bleed if she broke her hymen. So, like, wait. Sorry.
I mean, unless, like, Bella really, like, jerked off a lot. That could be something.
She broke her own hymen.
Maybe.
I feel like she broke it, like, tripping down the stairs. Knowing her, she broke it in a clumsy.
She broke it cliff diving, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, a lot of things not adding up here. And Edward draws a hard line in the sand and says, no more sexy time till you're a vampire. And just to make sure you never want to have sex with me, we're going to do things outside all day, every day.
Exactly. He breaks the news that he's not going to fuck her the entire rest of the trip. He says, quote, I will not make love with you until you change. He means to vampire, but honestly, maybe it's her attitude.
I hate that top on you, Bella.
She's like, honestly, you have a bad attitude. I'm withholding dick until you turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
And he cooks her breakfast feeling like he should die for this pain that he's put her through. And she is, one of my favorite lines in here, she, quote, starts snarfing down her eggs.
Snarf.
Snarf. You ever heard snarf used as an active verb?
We do get an interesting scene here, or at least in a few pages, where Bella starts kind of toying with the idea of maybe staying human for a little bit while longer because she's realized that sex is cool.
This is true, yeah.
And she's like kind of playing off like, I don't know, maybe I'd like a semester of college where I'm human and we fuck all the time. And I like do some classes and we fuck all the time.
I love that. She's trying to compromise by being like, listen, Edward, can I call you Edward? I'll stay human for another year if you ram your balls into me wearing the lingerie that Alice packed.
I mean, it was kind of pissing me off that Edward's like, no, I will not have sex with you because I hurt you. And she's like, one, no, you didn't. And two, I would like to have sex again. And he's like, no. I've decided how you feel, and I will not stand for it.
To make matters worse, later on that night, she has a dream that they're fucking, and she wakes up so horny, she starts sobbing.
Because it wasn't real, you guys. And then
I mean, throw her a bone. She's in heat.
I mean, she does use that to beg Edward for sex again, and it works. And the next morning, this entire scene is hilarious because the next morning the bed is broken and Bella eats an entire carton of eggs after.
Yeah, she's like, why the fuck am I eating so many eggs? She's like, whoa, the island's changing me. I'm a changed woman. Look at me, I'm Eggy McGeggy, Eggs McGee.
Do you think Cullen Lutz was inspired by this scene of her eating a lot of eggs?
She's
and he was
eggs.
like, this is how I get into character for this movie.
I don't know. She's got to eat something that has the same consistency of Edward's cup.
That's awful. And I'm not cutting it out.
Keep it in there.
She's like, give me some runny scrambies. I need it.
So yeah, exactly. She's eating so many eggs. She's like, I'm gonna go to Dartmouth. I'm gonna be a human for a little bit longer. The cleaning crew comes and is so suspicious of Edward and Bella. The woman is like, he's preying on her blood, obviously. But as we know, her hymen didn't even break.
This woman just like calls it. She's like, that guy's a vampire. I'm terrified of him.
She walks in.
But he's also paying me, so I'm cool with it.
She just points immediately at him and is like, okay, you're a vampire, but I'm on your payroll. Slay mamas.
Yes.
Keep doing whatever you want.
Yeah, she's like basically holding a crucifix out as she vacuums.
So this woman has her crucifix. She's
I'm sorry, the image of cleaning lady showing up with like a necklace of garlic and like
she's holding it out and she's maneuvering it with the other hand, the vacuum.
She's humming to herself. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is when Bella starts puking up some chicken she's eaten and she realizes, uh-oh, her period is late.
Which, like, you all are all wondering exactly what I was wondering. That doesn't make any sense. They've only been here for like a couple of weeks. But don't worry, Bella already has a baby bump. And
She's really cruising through the stages.
Pregnancy's a breeze when you're dating a vampire.
Exactly.
And Alice calls her freaking the fuck out. And Bella's like, no, Alice, I think you already know what's up. Let me talk to Carlisle. And then she's like, hey, so I could be pregnant, I guess.
And Carlisle's like, Bella, don't even worry. We're going to get that thing out of you. And Bella starts panicking because she's like, my son? You mean my son? Never. And
this was interesting, though, that Bella started freaking out about, like, this baby being taken out of her, because she literally said for books, I don't want to be, like, tied down in a relationship in a marriage. You think she'd be like, yeah, maybe I'm a little too young to have this.
Bella, get your priorities together. You want everlasting life with this vampire, but you won't get married, and then you're also jumping to just the white picket fence with the kid? Make sense, girlie.
You know, it's like, it'd be different if Bella, like, had some sort of longing to be a mother throughout these books, but she didn't. She wasn't looking forward to a life like that. She wanted to just run really fast.
But she makes this call to Rosalie in secret because she knows that Rosalie is like a ride or die for the womb. She goes sicko mode over babies, and she's like, Rosalie, you have to help me.
God, Rosalie would be pro-choice, wouldn't? Not pro-life, wouldn't she?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's where we end this first book for Breaking Dawn. Mm-hmm. But don't worry, listeners, there's more in this episode because we're also doing book 2, Jacob's point of view.
Yes.
And I know what you're thinking, what I was thinking. Why would I need Jacob's point of view?
Oh,
now,
but you do. You really do.
You really do, because it's heinous what we're about to go down.
Because, okay, so you flip the page, it says book 2, Jacob. You're like, is it about Jacob? What's it about? And then you flip the page again, and we start with a preface. And the preface has a quote, life sucks and then you die. That's what it is dedicated to. And then underneath it, there's a thought bubble, which says Jacob saying, yeah, I should be so lucky. And I was like, I'm in. I'm fully in on Jacob's point of view.
That quote changed a lot of young women's lives.
Absolutely.
The late aughts.
Yes.
So we open Jacob's POV, and I also think this is so interesting before we dive in, that Jacob's character and like how he talks is now so different than how he talked like the previous book and even the book before that. It doesn't really make sense, but he's a sassy guy now. Like, he used to be kind of a fun, goofy guy, and now he's just like very serious all the time, you know?
Do you think that she handled it in a good way? Because you have been bringing up that he had a different voice, and I do think when he was a human, he was like very innocent and sweet and fun. But then I feel like he kind of embodied the sassy, sardonic character as the werewolf. So the point of view kind of hit for me. I think it made sense.
That's interesting. See, I feel like some of Jacob's like what am I looking for? His like snap judgments and his quick actions felt very unprecedented, because I felt like his whole thing, it used to be like Edward was the one who made quick decisions, who very much acted on impulse.
Yeah.
And now to see Jacob doing this all of a sudden, not even seemingly out of like love, which is what we're pitched to Edward's doing it. I don't really understand Jacob's motivation for all of his like impassioned rage that he has all of a sudden, you know?
Oh, I guess that's fair.
But that's just me.
They kind of describe the werewolves as having unbridled rage. So
I so desperately wanted you to like, they kind of describe the werewolves as being like these like big like dog-like creatures. Just a very basic description.
I mean, that too. They're not even, I don't know. They get into the werewolves later on in their whole origin, but they don't even see like the souls of like ancient warriors, which I think they kind of talked about last book.
Stephanie Meyer loves her like half-explained lore, as if that's gonna give us some sort of insight into anything, doesn't she?
Oh, she really does, and boy, does she go into the lore later on in this book. But with Jacob, we always digress.
We digress.
So Jacob is hanging out with Paul, one of his pack members, at his house, and his sister, hey, get ready for this random bomb. He has a sister. Her name is Rachel. She is home from college. Anyways, Paul imprinted on her.
You ever come back from college and a guy imprints on you and is just like hanging out on your couch all of the time now all of a sudden?
You're like, I'm on winter break from my freshman year at college. I'm trying to really figure out being caught between the nostalgia of high school and the rest of my life.
Yeah, and he's like, you want to kiss later, maybe?
You want to kiss later? Yeah.
It's been 4 weeks since the wedding. And Jacob's kind of been on edge this whole time because he's like, well, it's definitely been 2 weeks since the wedding, so she probably turned. But now it's been 4. When am I going to find out when this girl's a little vampire?
Mm-hmm. He's trying to really keep his mind off of it, so he goes to catch up with Quill, who's hanging with Sam and Emily's kid Claire, who, sorry guys, I don't know if you remember this, but she is a toddler that Quill imprinted on.
This was this is like the kind of like a horror scene that I don't think Stephanie Meyer was trying to write.
Yes.
But this is purely terrible. Like, this is a horrific scene because Quill is like babysitting this child
alone.
That he's in love with alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I the way Stephanie Meyer writes it, it's like it's trying to be so normal, and I don't know if she's trying to be like, it's okay, it's just what the vampires do, or if we're supposed to be so repulsed by it.
She's literally, to make matters worse, the dialogue is she is talking like a baby. So Stephanie Meyer has misspelled the words, and Claire is talking like a baby. And Jacob does mention that Quill has a good, quote, 14 years before Claire is of age.
Yeah. And he asks Quill, like, maybe you should, like, be dating people in the meantime. And Quill goes, no, I will not be doing that. I'm just going to hang out with my toddler for the next 14 years.
It's so...
Ugh. Oh, horrible. Horrific. One of the worst things I've ever read.
So Sam calls a meeting. A few of the werewolves show up. Seth tells them that Charlie explained to Billy that Carlisle mentioned... Listen, the dads be gossiping.
Sam's like, I heard from Billy, who heard from Charlie, who heard from Carlisle.
That Bella is sick with something from South America and she is quarantined until further notice. And this sends the pack into like a tizzy because they're like, oh, it's clearly she's had to have been turned.
And Jacob's like, all right, troops, let's rally. They broke the treaty. Let's get them. And the wolves are like, well, it's of her own free will. So I guess we're like cool with it. She's choosing this life. And Jacob gets mad. He's like, whatever, you guys.
He is. He decides to take matters into his own hands. Billy's like trying to stop him from leaving, but no one can stop this guy. He motorcycles it over to the Cullens at 80 miles per hour. And yeah, Bella is sick. She's gaunt. She's haggard looking. Edward looks really deep with anguish. And Jacob is like, what is going on? Actually, this does not feel right.
Yeah, Bella's like, oh my God, Jacob, I love you. Come in. Bella kind of talks like a drunk girl you meet in the bathroom at a bar. This like entire part where she's pregnant.
Yeah.
She's like, Jacob, where you been, Loca? I've missed you so much.
Isn't
that so funny that we always call each other Loca?
We get our second Loca drop that Laura and I just made up.
This is honestly, I would have been more into breaking down with more Loca drops.
I know. Whoever the writers on the movie who came up with that, chef's kiss. Wow, that was beautiful.
Emmys, Oscars, EGOTs
for all. Yes.
But Jacob, surprisingly, he's like, she's still human. Maybe she is really sick. And then he goes, whoa, she pregnant.
Yes, because Rose helps her up. Jacob processes it, and Edward is like, hey, Jacob, can I talk to you really quick outside? And Jacob kind of realizes they're on the same page because Jacob's like, okay, so have Carlisle kill it? Why aren't you doing that? And Edward's like, she won't let us. And Rosalie won't let us, like, get to her.
You know, and this next part really ties into my belief from the last book that Edward was really trying to get Bella to, like, end things. Because, like, it already makes, like, and this also is shown, I think, by the fact that, like, the first time they had sex, Edward was like, well, that was a massive failure. We can never do that again. So the fact that Edward is now like, well, Jacob, Bella's dying. I would love for you to talk to her and ask her if she would have your babies that would be more human than my babies. Almost like crossing his fingers that like, oh, I'll be kind of off the hook.
Yeah, Edward's really grasping at straws because not only is he asking Jacob this very absurd request. He's also telling Jacob, he's like, yeah, I kind of didn't know that I could get a human pregnant. Which, you've been alive, again, you've been alive for 100 years.
Yeah.
What is the sex education for vampires?
Yeah.
For Catholics, I can say it's pretty bad.
Edward's father's literally a doctor. He should have told him.
I know.
This is on the parents.
I think Carlisle probably looked at his son and was like, I mean, that guy's never gonna fuck. Look at him. He's got, all he has is button-ups in his closet.
This guy who's so clearly afraid of women? Absolutely not.
So, yeah, he's trying to get Jake to impregnate his wife.
Who's already pregnant. So he's like, we're gonna do a switcheroo move here. We're gonna extract my fetus. You're gonna get in there and we're gonna get a new one pumping. And it's like, what?
Jake is like, I don't really know if I'm gonna do that. And then Edward says, okay, hey, new idea. What if after she gives birth, you can kill me? You know what? I don't want to be alive. If it kills her, kill me. And Jake goes, actually, that one sounds like fun. So they shake on this idea.
And the thing about this is just great because Jacob goes back and talks to Bella, and Bella's being delusional. And so Jacob does kind of pitch like, well, if you want like a baby, like, and she's like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to suggest you have my kids. That'd be weird.
Put another one in there. I know. I love that he's like, Bella, you look horrible. And Bella's like, it's fine. Actually, this distended belly and gaunt eyes are good for me. It actually, it's a TikTok filter. Okay.
Bella's literally like, I've never felt more connected to my vampire heritage than I have right now. And my favorite part is Jacob's like, well, Bella, you're probably going to die because you can't birth a vampire. And Bella's like, it's going to be all good because right before I die, they're going to turn me into a vampire. Isn't that so cool?
Jacob at this point, he's had it. He's like, fuck it, I'm out. So he turns and he runs out, and the minute that he changes into a werewolf, the whole pack can hear his thoughts about this dangerous monster, and they flip the table on Jacob. They're like, you know what? We're going to kill all of them. And he's like, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, big turn heel here, where they're like, oh, well, now that we know that there's a vampire baby, we have to kill an entire family of vampires. And Jacob's like, no, guys, come on.
I love that you call it a turn heel. He's become a heel in WWE. Oh my god. So yeah, Jacob actually realizes it's in his birthright to deny the alpha, so he breaks free from the pack. He's like, I'm on my own.
Which you kind of thought he might have done that at the end of the last book when he ran away, but I guess he was just kind of finding himself.
Mm-hmm. Carpe diem.
Yeah, my favorite part is doofy ass Seth. Seth's just here to hang. He's like following Jacob, and Jacob's like, what the hell are you doing? Seth's like, I'm in your pack now. And Jacob's like, you can't do that. He's like, well, I can hear your thoughts still, so I guess it works.
So Seth is joining him too, because Seth is buddies with Edward.
Yeah.
And they go and let the Cullens know that the werewolves, they're going to attack.
Yeah. And Edward's like, oh boy, this isn't good. Let me go tell everybody else what just happened. So then we get another scene where they just say the exact same thing to the rest of the Cullens.
Mm-hmm. Leah takes it upon herself to also join Jacob's gang because Seth is her younger brother. And also she's like, I'm Sam's ex-girlfriend I'm definitely still in love with him. So like, I don't want to be a part of his pack.
Honestly, Leah has the most valid opinion here at this point. And Carlisle is like, I feel like they're telling Jacob too much about Bella, knowing that Jacob is still very much in love with her. Because he's like, hey, Carlisle, let me tell you about Bella and how she's doing right now. It's getting worse. Also, do you want to know how vampire babies work? Because I sure don't know. There's a big shell around the baby, so I can't really monitor it at all.
The shell.
Yeah, like Carlisle tries to tell us like what he knows about vampire babies. It's not much. All we get is that like he can't really like look at it at all. There's almost just a giant rock in her belly.
And Jacob's thinking to himself, well, this monster probably wants blood. And Edward hears that and is like, wait, bestie, you're so right. Like it's always two bitches saying exactly. And this is where Edward and Jacob are like exactly to each other.
They're like, oh my god, twins. But we also find out the Cullens just have loads of blood lying around the house apparently for like situations like this to arise. And it's like, why didn't like the previous books, when like Edward like hadn't been hunting, didn't he just have like a glass of blood to satiate himself?
Yeah, they really are like, oh, we actually set aside O positive blood for this exact moment. We just have it tucked away
You
for
never know
emergency.
when one of our family members gonna knock a girl up.
Jacob does call out Rosaline, only caring that Bella's producing a child and wouldn't care if she died, which is true.
It's true. She doesn't deny it. Bella loves the blood.
Oh, she's obsessed with the blood.
She's like, oh my god. She's just trying to prove that she could be a vampire. She's like, oh, this is so good.
So while she's having her little blood 7-Eleven Slurpee, Seth hears that wolves are coming and Jacob phases to meet them. It's Paul, Quill, and Cullen, and they're begging for a truce because Jacob has essentially torn this family apart.
Yeah. And Jacob says no. And then he goes to the Cullens, and he makes a note here that it's like, wow, since Edward can read my mind, we're so in sync. And Edward's like, hey, buddy, do you want some food from our fridge? We have human food in there, just in case. So they're really becoming buddy-buddy.
Yeah, they really are. They're essentially homeless, the werewolves are, without their pack, and that's kind of where this goodwill comes from. And I mean, this is when things start really heating up because now Bella's not having a good time with this baby anymore. She's probably regretting it because the baby breaks a rib.
Yeah, it's like the baby's just loose as a goose up in her body. It's just like they're basically describing that this like baby is not in any sort of like, it's in an enclosure but has enough to just extend itself as much as possible.
It does kind of seem like it's just floating around and is like, oh, big stretch.
Yeah. Big. And then Bella can't even say good stretch, buddy, when it's breaking her bones. So
yeah, it really is just like wearing her like a latex suit, honestly.
Yeah. And Alice is also like,
she's had it with the baby.
She's had it because she can't see visions of the baby's future because it has this weird turtle shell surrounding it.
Yeah, it has like bulletproof armor in the form of an amniotic sac or something. It's crazy.
It doesn't make sense. Because like also, how do they have to take that out of Bella when it's done? Is that the placenta? I don't know.
Who knows? So the werewolves are staying here. Jake falls asleep and he wakes up to Seth kind of hanging around eating breakfast that Edward made, and it honestly sounds really good. The amount of eggs that Edward's making in here, call him a sous chef because it sounds delicious.
This book's a great ad for eggs.
It really is. Eggward. And
Eggward. That was good.
Carlisle asks Jake if they can go hunting because they're like, I mean, they have that emergency pack, but they gotta go vegetarian. And Jake's like, yeah, I think it'll be fine. I don't think Sam's gonna attack Bella in this window.
Yeah. Yeah, so they can go hunt in like little pairs, essentially. And Seth and Jacob have like an aside here. They're like, why are the Cullens staying put? Wouldn't it be easier for them to just like run off? And then they kind of talk about why the Cullens are staying while they wait this baby out.
Seth drops a huge truth bomb to Jacob and mentions that Bella's been talking to Charlie every day on the phone because she wants to.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of a timeline of where Bella is at with this pregnancy. She mentions that Carlisle thinks she's got about 2 weeks before she gives birth.
And she's been pregnant for not very long. So this is a Speedy Gonzalez time.
It's Speedy Gonzalez time, exactly. Best Looney Tune.
Best Looney Tune. Jacob does one of his like little werewolf watch shifts and he goes back to the Cullens. Rosalie gives him some food. Bella's like, Jacob, I'm so glad you're here. I feel so complete now that you're around. And Edward also drops a bomb. It's like, it's going to go beyond just these phone calls because Bella plans to see Charlie after she becomes a vampire. She thinks she can make it work. So
yeah, she thinks she can still have a life with him as a vampire. And Edward's like, tells Jacob, because Jacob's like, why are you telling her these lies? And he's like, listen, we don't know if she'll survive this. I gotta give her
happy.
Anything that she wants. Because they learn at this moment that the fetus uses teeth to get out.
Yeah. The baby has grown its teeth so it can bite its way out of the womb when it's ready to.
they're trying to figure out, is it like a werewolf? Is it a vampire? They can't figure out what it is. The kid must be huge because he stretches inside of her and almost breaks her back.
Yeah, like every which way.
Not breaking your back in the fun way, that's for sure.
No, that's so true. Another scene we get here is Jacob and Leah have a conversation about imprinting and kind of not having the reciprocation of someone you love, because Leah obviously has that with Sam and she relates it to Bella. And Leah kind of tries to level with Jacob, being like, you can still imprint on someone. Like, I can't. I'm at a loss. Like, lady werewolves don't get to do that. And Jacob's like, no, I don't want to imprint on anyone. It's like, well, you kind of just ignored what Leah was saying. Like, you should be appreciative that you can.
It is kind of crazy because it seems like only male werewolves can imprint because they're attracted to who's most likely to carry on the gene. So it seems like they're attracted to like fertile women with childbearing hips.
Yeah. And like apparently like Leah as a female werewolf can't pass the werewolf gene on. We don't get the science behind it.
No, it seems like it's Sam's theory.
Yeah. That's how he broke up with her. He's like, I just don't think you can birth a werewolf. And she's like, but I am a werewolf. He's like, no, I just don't think it'll work. It wouldn't work.
He's like, I've seen your hips and they're skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say they're skinny.
Yeah. He's like, you're too long and lean from the miles and miles you can run as a werewolf.
But little Miss Fertile Bella over here, she is not having a good time. She breaks her pelvic rib.
And not in a sexy way. It's
God.
because another big stretch from the baby.
This guy's just taking every liberty.
Oof. Edward can start to hear the baby's thoughts. So he's like, oh, timer's almost up. I can hear some baby thoughts right now. We learned that Bella is going to name the baby EJ if it's a boy, and Renesmee if it's a girl. I didn't understand what the EJ was a acronym for.
I don't remember. I don't know.
I don't remember either.
So this is when the baby is obviously revealing all of its secrets to Papa Edward, and Papa Edward figures out that the baby adores Bella, loves Edward, and Jacob's having thoughts of like, what am I doing here? So Edward gives him car keys and is like, hey, head out of town.
Yeah, and Jacob goes on a little joyride. He meets a hot girl named Lizzie, and he's like, she's hot, but I'm not going to imprint on her.
No.
I can't.
So his imprinting, trying to force himself to imprint fails. He comes back.
Him just grunting at the steering wheel of the car. She's like, hey, cool car. And he's like,
She's like, do you have a hernia? Do you have a hernia? Are you trying to shit? And he's like, oh. So,
that's so funny.
he sits there. He almost breaks a blood vessel trying to imprint. When he comes back, Edward says, buddy, you got to control Leah. She's yelling at Bella. And he says when Carlisle is back from hunting, he's going to try to deliver the baby because the baby's gotten too big.
Yeah.
Fat ass baby. She's got a fat ass. He's rocking it. This
baby is beyond the point of good stretching. It is just a fat ass baby at this point. Bella apologizes to Jacob like in tears. She's like, I am so sorry that I've made you feel alone and lost. Again, I love comparing Bella's entire dialogue this book to that of a drunk girl in a bar because it really just comes out so like over emotional or just so delusionally strange. And Bella's gonna like get up to walk and like prove a point that she's fine, I guess, which doesn't make sense because clearly she has broken bones. So like, how is she gonna get up and walk? So she immediately starts screaming and absolute chaos ensues.
She vomits, quote, a fountain of blood because she's over here guzzling 2 gallons of blood a day.
Yeah.
Carlisle is out hunting. He's not even there. And Bella, okay, I have to say, I hated reading all of this because it was, I'll give her some chops. It was very it's graphic. Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The umbilical cord snapped and the baby can't breathe. So they have to give Bella like a smidgen of morphine. There's no time though because she's suffocating and this like, oh my God, it breaks her spine.
Yeah.
They have to get it out. She's like Bella's whole body's looking like blown out cow pussy. Like they
oh my God.
they gotta get this girl out.
My whole thing here is like, why would they let the doctor leave this close to her giving birth.
I don't know.
Bring him some leftovers from the hunt, you guys. You've only existed for centuries. You should know better than if this person you don't want to die is about to die. Maybe if you're like, oh, well, baby isn't due for 3 hours, you could probably step out. No.
Seriously, get some gallon-sized bag, Ziploc baggies, put a little deer in it, haul your ass home.
Exactly. Wrap it in some tinfoil. You guys gotta have tinfoil. Everybody has a thing of tinfoil.
So Bella's clearly dying because she's laying on this operating table. She's vomiting up blood. She is choking on said blood. Jacob is trying to resuscitate her, give her mouth-to-mouth CPR. Edward doing a 1-2 number, injecting venom directly into her heart, biting her everywhere.
It's a race to get baby out, venom in. At some point, like, he just dismisses Jacob. He's like, Jacob, we're not trying to breathe air into her anymore. It's vampire time. Stop it.
Well, because Jacob's thinking he's like, it's a lost cause. And Edward's like, take your piss poor attitude somewhere else, respectfully.
Yeah. Why don't you go be a werewolf outside?
So Jacob stomps down the stairs and Bella's heart officially stops.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah.
Jacob is like, you know what? Fuck that. That is the only girl I've ever loved. I'm going to kill this fucking baby when it gets downstairs because Rosaline has been sent to get it since Edward's doing recon on Bella.
And he's walking right up to Rosalie and this baby. And he's like, I could just kill it. And he's like, but wait, this baby is so fine. This is the sexiest baby, dare I say, and I'm in love for eternity with it.
He's like, no cap, this baby is fuckable. This is a fuckable baby.
He's like, no cap, I would fuck this baby in about 16 years when it'd be acceptable for me to do so as a teenager myself.
He describes it as like a glowing that like takes him to her. I don't even know, but
it's creepy as fuck and it's weird.
I think he describes it as like a blind man seeing the sun for the first time.
Oof. And
he imprints on her.
Yeah.
And that's where we're gonna end part 1.
Yeah. That's a good end for part 1. It really leaves you thinking. Oh my gosh. Wow. The dawn has been broken, if you know what I mean.
It really has. It really has. Maybe Bella's hymen wasn't broken, but Dawn was certainly broken.
Dawn, her pelvis, her rib, part of her spine.
Everywhere.
Imagine her stomach's pretty torn up.
Can't imagine her stomach's doing that good.
Her pussy intact, though. Let's focus on the good things.
All right, well, I guess, should we...
Let's end on that. It's like, we need to emphasize that Bella's pussy is fine. She can still fuck whenever she wants.
And as the sun is setting on the horizon, Edward rides into the clouds knowing at least Bella's pussy is fuckable.
He's like, thank God. Thank God it's not going to look different after this.
Thank God.
What a horrible thing. Yeah. Should we do our canceled character first?
I think so, and I feel like it's got to be Jacob, right?
Yeah, I wrote 2 options. I went Quill for imprinting on a baby, or Jacob for also imprinting on a baby. And maybe it's both.
I think I was actually going to also bring up Quill because Quill's like is active and Jacob's we just kind of end on the cliff notes of like, oh, and we know where it's going to go.
And we know that Jacob's going to be a Quill. Are they going to go on double like babysitting dates?
Probably.
That's so heinous.
Which brings us to our top 5. As we mentioned, Jacob has his own book, his own point of view section, and each chapter is like a My Chemical Romance song title, to be honest.
Way of saying it.
So we wanted to rank our top 5 favorite chapter titles from Jacob's point of view.
Yeah. You should start, Meggie.
Starting at number 5, this chapter title was Too Much Information Alert.
Which... That sounds like AI generated. Like, AI, can you write me a chapter name? And the AI's like, yeah, too much information alert.
Why not just TMI?
Yeah, why not just alert? Why did we put so many words in here? Number 4 is gonna say, this one's so long. You know things are bad when you feel guilty for being rude to vampires. Wow, that
Well,
really just gets right to the point, huh?
it really does. I mean, you can tell he's having an identity crisis
Yeah,
here.
someone get Jacob a journal. He clearly needs to write his feelings down.
He does. Coming in at number 3, we had the 2 things at the very top of my things I never want to do list. It's clunky.
And
There's a lot going on.
It's interesting because we also never find out what this list is and what those 2 things are.
I know. She really set herself up for make the list.
Like what are the 2 things?
Yeah.
What did he do? Was it leaving the pack? I don't know. Maybe.
Could have been.
Number 2 is chapter 10. This one's great. It's a rhetorical question for himself internally.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't I just walk away? Oh, right. Because I'm an idiot.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. I love that Jacob's really doing a call and response with his chapters.
I love that for him. And number 1, our favorite cherry on top of Jacob's point of view chapters. What do I look like? The Wizard of Oz? You need a brain? You need a heart? Go ahead. Take mine. Take everything I have.
And again, I would love to know what that's referring to, but it doesn't. We don't know.
It's giving very tear my life into pieces. This is my last resort. That's beautiful. We did it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that's it. That's our top 5. Jacob's chapter titles were probably the best chapter titles I've seen in any book I've ever read.
They were so funny.
So good.
And if you want to keep up with our harmonizing or our other shenanigans online, you can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Yaoi Reddit. We post sometimes there. We're on Instagram at Meggie_and_Laura, or you can find us where we're very active, our email account.
We love our email account. We need to go through. We've been getting some emails lately.
I know.
We've been getting some emails lately, and we've not been responding. So that's on us.
But we promise we love our email account.
Can you expect us to email back quickly in the summer? It's you gotta have some business days for us to get back to you. We're sorry.
I'm sorry, in Brat Summer, I can't do anything.
No, we can't do anything. We're just too busy being bratty.
We really are. But if you do email us at MeggieandLauraPresent@gmail.com.
And we're really towards the end of season 13, which is really exciting. We have one more Breaking Dawn.
I'm so sad.
And then we're really gonna digest the series in one final swoop, which is, I think, necessary for all of us.
Yes.
And that's going to be season 13. And then we'll talk about what happens next. The podcast is going to keep podcasting. We can tell you that much.
Oh, yes, it is. And for the time being, we hope you break dawn and bust off.
And break wind?
I don't know.
We'll it'll be better the next
time. We'll workshop it.
I liked it enough, though.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Love you. Bye.